two 23-11 cars. Look at this. Contact. That's Carson Hocevar and Chase Elliott.
Something strange happened in late 2025. A young NASCAR driver said a few words that made everyone stop and listen. It wasn't during a crash. It wasn't even after a win. It happened when no one expected it. What he said might have changed everything. But why did he say it? And who was really listening? Carson Hocevar is known for being bold and aggressive on the track. But during the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington, he may have gone too far. He got into a heated battle with Chase Elliott, the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion and a top driver for Rick Hendrick. What happened next wasn't just a racing issue. It could affect Hocevar's future, his team relationships, and how people in NASCAR see him. The drama erupted in Stage 2. As the pack jostled for position, Chase Elliott and Carson Hocevar made contact multiple times. These weren't minor taps. The cars came together with visible aggression, and at one point, Hocevar's Chevrolet got turned sideways, nearly spinning out in the middle of one of the sport's toughest tracks. Tensions were high, but what happened next set the tone for everything that followed.
Kevin doesn't want to give him one, and the 9 just squeezes his way down. That's the 2 of Hendrick. So the 77 was trying to use the 2 as a pick. Chase Elliott not very happy.
Whoa! Almost around for the 77.
Frustrated and fired up, Hocevar exploded over his team radio. In a raw, unfiltered moment, he blurted out, "Fuck him! I don't care who he drives for." That wasn't just a profanity-laced rant. It was a direct shot at Chase Elliott and, more dangerously, at the Hendrick Motorsports empire. And it didn't take long for the NASCAR world to take notice. Chase Elliott drives for Hendrick Motorsports, the most successful team in NASCAR history. Owned by Rick Hendrick, the team has massive influence across the sport, especially within Chevrolet's ranks. The problem for Hocevar? His own team, Spire Motorsports, gets its engines from Hendrick. So when Hocevar said he didn't care who Elliott drove for, he wasn't just throwing shade at a rival driver. He was challenging the very network that powers his own career. The clash didn't end on the track. Hocevar's race continued to spiral out of control. On lap 152, his frustrations boiled over again when he spun out, losing crucial track position. Things got worse on pit road. After the spin, he pulled into his pit box and made contact with Christopher Bell, ending up backwards in a chaotic scene that summed up his night. By the end of the race, it was clear Hocevar had drawn a line in the sand.
Hey, looked like it was going to be another wreck, another spin. And then ultimately, this is the time it just comes around on him.
And that line, it runs straight through Rick Hendrick's garage. The fallout was immediate. NASCAR veterans began weighing in, and one voice stood out more than most. Dale Earnhardt Jr., a legend in the sport, and someone who knows the inner workings of Hendrick Motorsports better than almost anyone, had already offered a warning to Hocevar just weeks before the race. Speaking about Hocevar's aggressive style, Earnhardt Jr. said, "I am entertained by Hocevar until it becomes my problem. It's all fine until he does something that irks a Hendrick or somebody directly above his chain of command." Well, now it has. The warning from Dale Jr. suddenly felt prophetic. By challenging Chase Elliott and, by extension, Rick Hendrick, Hocevar may have stepped into dangerous political territory. In NASCAR, allegiances matter. Manufacturer alliances, team relationships, engine suppliers, all of it is part of a carefully balanced ecosystem. And when a young driver openly defies those unwritten rules, there are always consequences. Veteran driver Kevin Harvick echoed the sentiment. He's seen what happens when a driver starts messing with the Hendrick empire. Harvick referenced Ross Chastain's history of aggressive driving and the fallout he faced when he got into repeated on-track incidents with Hendrick drivers. Hendrick himself eventually stepped in, delivering a public warning to Chastain to clean up his act. This isn't just about one race. It's about power, politics, and how far a rising star can push against the sport's established order. Carson Hocevar is walking that line now, and everyone's watching to see if he'll survive it or get pushed back down. The irony is that Hocevar's style is exactly what many fans crave. He's brash, unapologetic, and refuses to play nice. He's had run-ins with other drivers this season, including Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Zane Smith, and even Brad Keselowski. Each time he's come away with more headlines and more attention. But attention doesn't always equal longevity in a sport where relationships often dictate opportunities. At Darlington, that aggressive identity turned from entertaining to dangerous. When Hocevar said, "I don't care who he drives for," it wasn't just disrespect, it was defiance. And in NASCAR, defiance against Rick Hendrick can be career-altering. The rest of the race didn't go much better for Chase Elliott either. He finished 17th after being a lap down and called the night honestly laughable due to bad timing and a costly pit road mistake. But Elliott didn't respond publicly to Hocevar's remarks. He didn't have to. The weight of the Hendrick organization speaks louder than any single driver. Meanwhile, Hocevar's outburst continued to dominate headlines. Fans were split. Some loved the fire and passion, calling it a breath of fresh air in a sport that can sometimes feel too corporate. Others saw it as reckless and immature, especially given Hocevar's place within the Chevrolet camp. Spire Motorsports now finds itself in an awkward position. Their driver just insulted a fellow Chevy team and one of the most influential figures in the garage. While there's been no public statement from the team or from Rick Hendrick himself, the silence is deafening. In NASCAR, what's not said often matters more than what is. Industry insiders speculate that Hocevar may soon find himself in an uncomfortable conversation with Chevrolet executives, or even Rick Hendrick personally. Dale Jr.'s comment about visiting the Hendrick office might become a reality sooner than anyone expected. The bigger question is whether Hocevar will change. If history is any guide, probably not. This is a driver who thrives on chaos, who feeds off the energy of being the disruptor. But NASCAR isn't just about raw talent. It's about navigating the political landscape, earning the trust of sponsors, manufacturers, and powerful team owners. And that's the part Hocevar hasn't mastered yet. There's also the broader concern, what if this becomes a pattern? If Hocevar continues to butt heads with elite teams, how long before doors start closing? Chevrolet has a deep bench of drivers and teams. Loyalty and professionalism are valued as much as speed. If Hocevar burns too many bridges, he could find himself isolated with fewer opportunities despite his undeniable talent. Still, the moment at Darlington will be remembered, not just for the crash, not just for the radio rant, but because it exposed the underlying power dynamics in NASCAR. It showed how quickly a driver can go from rising star to potential liability. And it reminded everyone that no matter how fast you are, no one is untouchable. For now, Hocevar remains one of the most talked about names in the garage. His future is still wide open, but the spotlight is hotter than ever. Will he double down and embrace the villain role? Or will he find a way to balance aggression with diplomacy? Whatever happens next, one thing is certain, the NASCAR world will be watching closely. And Rick Hendrick, he doesn't forget.
Your social media post, it's good for clicks, bad for results.
The Iowa Corn 350 wasn't just another race. It was a boiling point for Carson Hocevar. After a controversial incident involving Zane Smith, NASCAR veteran Denny Hamlin didn't hold back. On his podcast, Hamlin called out Hocevar's attitude, warning that it could cost him big in the future. This is more than just a race rivalry, it's a warning for the young driver. NASCAR fans are no strangers to drama on the track, but the Iowa Corn 350 race took things to another level when Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith collided on lap 229. What was supposed to be a regular race quickly turned into a heated controversy. After a loose moment on the track, Hocevar's car made contact with Smith's, sending him into the wall and ending his day. While Hocevar continued, finishing 8th, things were just getting started. The real fireworks came after the race, when a furious confrontation unfolded. And it wasn't just Zane Smith's crew chief who had words for Hocevar. NASCAR star Denny Hamlin weighed in as well, calling out the young driver for his attitude. It all started on the final stage of the race at Iowa Speedway. Hocevar, who was already in a tight battle with Zane Smith, got loose and made slight contact with Smith's car. Smith was sent into the wall, ending his race, while Hocevar went on to finish in 8th place. The situation might have been an accident, but the aftermath is what turned heads. Denny Hamlin, a seasoned NASCAR veteran, wasted no time in addressing the incident. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, Hamlin openly stated that the contact was likely unintentional, with Hocevar's car simply getting loose. However, Hamlin took serious issue with Hocevar's post-race reaction. Instead of taking responsibility for the contact, Hocevar brushed it off with a tough luck, buddy attitude. Hamlin didn't mince words. That's a tough way to live. Toughest way to go about this. It hurts you in the long run. If that's the attitude you want to have, it's good for social media, but bad for on-track results. He said.
That's a tough way to live.
No,
Tough way to live.
That's the best way to go about this.
Okay.
Okay, but did he do anything?
Okay.
Did he do anything wrong?
Is he in the
Saints fans?
playoffs or is he not?
He's not, but you
Okay.
got to win to be in the playoffs.
Not necessarily, no. I'm just saying that
You gotta be a winning
hurts
part
you in the
to be in
long
the
run.
playoffs.
If that's the attitude you want to have, it's good for social media. It's bad for on-track.
Hamlin's comments didn't stop there. He pointed out that this wasn't the first time Hocevar's aggressive driving had caused problems. The 22-year-old driver, who has earned the nickname Hurricane Hocevar for his reckless tendencies on track, has already had several confrontations with other drivers in the 2025 season. From clashes with Ryan Blaney and Ross Chastain to his fiery exchange with Shane Van Gisbergen during the Iowa race, Hocevar's reputation for stirring up trouble is growing. In fact, it wasn't just Hamlin who was calling out Hocevar. After the Iowa incident, Zane Smith's crew chief, Ryan Burgundy, confronted Hocevar in a post-race interview, accusing him of being reckless and showing no remorse for the damage caused. Hocevar, instead of apologizing, continued to maintain his defiant stance, even posting a cryptic message on social media later that day. Hamlin, speaking from years of experience, warned Hocevar that his current approach might feel good for social media clicks, but could cost him dearly in the long run. You're going to be in contention, and someone is going to clean you out.
But you're going to be in contention. If you're on the team, you're going to be in contention for a win, and someone's going to clean you out, and they're going to say,
Hamlin predicted. He compared Hocevar's behavior to the early years of Joey Logano, another driver who was criticized for his lack of accountability. Logano's early years were filled with controversy, and many in the NASCAR community were unhappy with his aggressive, unapologetic style. However, Logano eventually matured, learning when to back off and accept responsibility for his actions. Hamlin's message to Hocevar was clear: owning up to mistakes and maintaining humility will go a long way in the NASCAR garage. We've been talking about the same thing for years about the same guy. Let him learn it the hard way.
I don't know. We've been talking about the same thing for years about the same guy. So it's just, you almost just want to just let him do whatever he wants to do, and don't interrupt him while he's making a mistake. Just let him learn it the hard way.
Hamlin said, referring to Logano's early career struggles. Hocevar's attitude on social media has been a hot topic as well. While fans have loved seeing a driver show personality and not back down from controversy, Hamlin believes Hocevar might be focusing too much on the fame and clicks that social media provides. Hamlin's warning: it's good for clicks, bad for results.
Your social media post, it's good for clicks, bad for results.
Hocevar's posts, such as his message following the Iowa race, could make him a fan favorite in the short term, but they risk alienating him from his fellow drivers and sponsors. Hamlin pointed out that Hocevar might not realize the consequences of his actions until it's too late. Hamlin's comments also shed light on the dangers of maintaining a reckless attitude in NASCAR. He compared Hocevar to some of the most controversial figures in NASCAR history, like Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. Both drivers, in their early years, were known for their aggressive on-track behavior and their unapologetic attitudes. But as Hamlin pointed out, both Busch and Logano eventually matured and learned when to dial back their aggression. Busch's reputation for being difficult to work with was a key factor in his move from Joe Gibbs Racing to Richard Childress Racing in 2023. Despite his success on the track, his lack of accountability off it caused friction with his team and sponsors. So, what does the future hold for Carson Hocevar? Hamlin's warning serves as a wake-up call for the young driver. While he may currently be in the spotlight for his bold personality and fearless racing style, Hocevar must be careful not to alienate the very people who can help him succeed in NASCAR, his fellow drivers, his team, and his sponsors. As Hamlin said, you're gonna pay at the most inopportune time when it was your day.
You're gonna pay at the most inopportune time when it was your day.
Hocevar's lack of humility and defiant attitude might come back to haunt him when he's in contention for a win and someone decides to take matters into their own hands. The comparison to Kyle Busch is particularly interesting. Busch, known for his aggressive driving and fiery personality, became a NASCAR legend despite facing major controversies throughout his career. However, his struggles with sponsors and team management in recent years serve as a cautionary tale for Hocevar. Will he follow in Busch's footsteps, becoming a NASCAR superstar despite his controversies? Or will he burn out and be remembered as a flash in the pan? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear: Hocevar needs to rethink his approach before it's too late. NASCAR's competitive world doesn't have room for drivers who refuse to take responsibility for their actions. And, as Denny Hamlin said, let him learn it the hard way. The race at Iowa Speedway might be over, but the fallout from Carson Hocevar's actions is far from finished. Denny Hamlin's words should serve as a warning to the young driver. Without humility and accountability, Hocevar could find himself with fewer friends and more enemies in the NASCAR garage. The upcoming races will show whether Hocevar can turn things around or if he will continue down the same path, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. In NASCAR, the track can be a brutal place, and sometimes the toughest lessons are learned the hard way.
I've wanted all those places, so let's go do it again, right? Watkins Glen's probably my favorite road course we go to. Richmond is statistically one of my best racetracks that we go to. And then Daytona's been one of our best racetracks since I've been at RCR with Team Chevrolet. So, feel really good about our opportunities in the next 3 weeks.
Kyle Busch has just 3 races left to make it into the 2025 NASCAR playoffs. He hasn't won in 2 years, and his chance to race for the championship is almost gone. Every race now counts. Can he pull off a win and make it into the playoffs, or will this be the year he misses out? Kyle Busch is a famous NASCAR driver known for his strong racing and many wins, but now he's facing one of the hardest parts of his career. The 2025 season has been tough for him, even though he has won a lot in the past. Right now, it's not clear if he'll make it into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. With only 3 races left in the season, he doesn't have much time to turn things around. As it stands, Kyle Busch is 19th in the standings, far outside the coveted top 16 spots that will advance to the playoffs. His current position is a far cry from the dominance he's known for in NASCAR. With just 3 races remaining, Busch's only hope for playoff qualification lies in a win. But with the competition heating up and his recent struggles, securing that victory is far from guaranteed. Busch's story is one of highs and lows. The 2024 season was a tough blow for the 9-year-old driver, marking the first time in his career that he failed to win a race. After a season of ups and downs, he ended up outside the playoffs for the first time since the modern playoff format began. But despite his struggles, Busch has always been a fighter, and the question now is whether he can rally in 2025. This season has been no different, with Busch still seeking his first victory of the year. While his team's performance has been solid, consistent finishes have proven elusive. Busch's only path to the playoffs now appears to be a dramatic late-season victory. With so little time remaining, he knows that every lap, every pit stop, and every decision on the track counts more than ever before. The first opportunity for Busch to make a mark will come at Richmond Raceway, a track where he has historically performed well. With 6 wins and an average finish of 7.0 at Richmond, Busch has the experience and track record to succeed there. However, Busch has also acknowledged that past performances alone won't guarantee a win this time. The competition is fierce, and every race is a battle for survival. In an interview, Busch spoke candidly about his outlook for the remainder of the season. "I'm not going to lie, time is running out, and I know that," Busch said, "but I also know what we're capable of. Richmond is a track where we've had success, and if we execute well, we'll have a shot." Busch's comments reflect a sense of urgency that has come to define his mindset this year. With just a few races left to secure a win in a playoff spot, every decision will matter. There's little margin for error, and Busch is keenly aware of that. The pressure to perform at his best is intense, but it's nothing new for a driver who has dealt with high stakes throughout his career. The upcoming race at Richmond will not only be crucial for Busch's playoff chances, but also for his legacy. He's been in this situation before, and his career has been marked by comebacks and perseverance. But will his experience be enough to overcome the challenges of a season that has been far from smooth sailing? Richmond is just one of the tracks where Busch hopes to make a statement. The following race at Daytona is another opportunity for him to prove himself. Known for its unpredictability, Daytona often produces thrilling finishes and upsets. For Busch, the race represents a chance to turn the tide on his playoff chances. Daytona has been one of our best racetracks since I have been at RCR with Team Chevrolet. I feel really good about our opportunities in the next 3 weeks. However, while Daytona presents an opportunity, it also brings risks. The unpredictability of the track means that Busch will need to be strategic, especially with his playoff hopes hanging in the balance. The stakes could not be higher, and Busch knows that a mistake now could seal his fate. You have to stay focused, stay calm, and take the opportunities when they come, he added.